Today's episode of the Mac Daddy Seminar is brought to you by Rowdy Beard Club. Listen, if you're trying to be a Mac Daddy this holiday season, you gotta be fresh. And if you want to keep that no-shave November beard all season long, look no further. Rowdy Beard Club is a locally owned company that provides all natural balm and beard oils for conditioning and keeping your mane looking majestic this holiday season at an affordable price. Use the promo code ROWDY30 at checkout to save an extra 30% right now. Head over to rowdybeards.com to check out their products now.
Go make yourself a drink and I'll be down in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
If out of town or whatever, we don't give a fuck. The deal is done. Now the cake been baked. They need to come on with the drama, whatever they gonna do.
What's going on, guys? And welcome to the 7th episode of the Mac Daddy Seminar. Now, before I go any further, let me express that I am sick. Okay? I came down with the bubonic plague, I think. I know I sound like Keith Sweat talking right now, but it's literally because I can't go more than 4 minutes without coughing. And I wake up in the morning and I feel like somebody stuffed a shit ton of socks in my lungs. So, if it sounds a little bit different the way that I normally talk, I apologize. But, yeah. It's been a minute, man. Most of you know, if you listen to this, if you saw my pictures on Instagram, we were in Disney World about 2 weeks ago, and I put out beforehand that I would be, basically, I uploaded a video the Friday before, and then I would wait until the following week, like the next Monday, before I would record another episode, and I'd be caught up. Well, unfortunately, we had a death in the family. My grandmother passed away, and with all the travel back and forth to, we just came back from Alabama, and then, we had to turn right back around and go back to the funeral. I just really didn't have time to record a podcast. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't in the mood. It's kind of hard to be goofy and silly and, when a family member passes away. But that's all I'm going to go into that. We're just here goofing the fuck off, So, but anyways, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our vacation to Disney, because it felt like it was a fucking year-long vacation. So, we went down to Alabama, and, we had Thanksgiving, and I was off work for like a week. And during that week, literally all I did was play fucking Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm almost beat the game, okay? Like, I'm gonna play it this upcoming weekend, which I'm off like Monday and Tuesday because of Christmas. And I plan on beating it just so I can just put it down for a while. Because every time I'm like, you know what, I'm playing this fucking game too much. It rears its ugly head and it's like, hey, you want to go collect bounties? You want to go fucking rob a train? And I'm like, well, yeehaw. And I hop on my horse and ride off into the sunset, man. But yeah. This podcast could be called Red Dead Redemption, because that's how much I've talked about it, because I started it right as Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and that's the only game I've played since I got it. But anyway, so I spent a week playing this game, and we left for Disney on Saturday morning. We woke up early as hell. We woke up at like 3:30 that morning. And after waking up so early, my daughter, of course, was grumpy as all hell. But, she didn't understand what we were doing, because she had never been to Disney World before. So I'd tell her, hey, we're going to Disney World. And she was just like, she kept saying no. Because that's her thing now. She says no to everything. You want some candy? No. And then I'll go and get a piece of candy. And she's like, where's my candy? It's the most irritating thing in the world. But, you know, she's only 3. So, and that was the whole reason we went down to Disney World, because it was her birthday. And my wife tried to tell me, she was like, oh, we don't need to take her when she's 3. She's not even going to remember it. Look, I went when I was 3, and I still remember it to this day. So, shut that shit up. We're going to Disney World. So, yeah. We get in the car, and it's black dark outside. And I was like, look, if we get up early and we start driving, we can get there pretty much by like noon. And they were like, okay. So we started off early, and we drove like 5 hours before we stopped for breakfast. So we're already almost there. We eat breakfast, everything is cool, and then we excuse me. We get back on the road, and it just starts pissing rain. And we got my mother-in-law to drive, because I don't like to drive in the rain, and my wife really doesn't like to drive in the rain. So she drove like she was in the damn Indy 500. Like, I was in the back seat. You know that meme of Quavo when he did that carpool karaoke, and he's like looking up front and then looking at her like she's crazy as hell? That's how I was looking, because I was in the back seat with my daughter. You know, and she was tired of being in her car seat, so she started crying. And it was just a mess. But we made it down there. And the first night we got there was Saturday night. It was the night of the SEC championship game. And I knew it was going to be a good game, obviously, because it was Alabama and Georgia. And it's been a matchup that a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time. And it was a great game. Now, of course, I'm walking around in Disney Springs, which is like the little shopping, I say little, but it's like a fucking town. It's like a shopping area, like real nice places like Balenciaga and Louis Vuitton and shit like that, Gucci. And they have all these really nice restaurants out there. It's actually really, really cool. And so we walked around out there, and while I'm walking around, I'm literally watching the SEC championship game on my phone. Because we're looking for a place to eat at 9:30 p.m. And you go up to a restaurant, and you're like, yeah, how long's the wait? 3.5 hours. Okay, no thank you. You know? Like, how long's the wait? Well, we can serve you breakfast tomorrow morning. Okay, I'm going to turn around now. It's not worth it. Now, some of these restaurants are pretty cool, but, like, you know, they got the Rainforest Cafe, where they got monkeys swinging around and shit. Big-ass elephant sitting right next to you while you eat. And they had this T-Rex Cafe. And it's got dinosaurs and shit in there. My daughter loved that. But after walking around out there for like 4 hours, I was like, let's just go back to the resort. And we went. And this is the cheapest thing you can eat in Disney World, hands down, is you just get a pepperoni pizza from the cafe in the resort, the cafeteria. It was $17.99. Now, I know a lot of you thinking that's kind of expensive for just one large pizza. Let me tell you something. Compared to the rest of the food at Disney World, that ain't nothing. If you're planning on taking a trip to Disney World, you need to save up for food. Because they got a lot of really good food. They got a lot of different stuff to pick from, but it's expensive. Okay? I hit a benchmark in my life while I was in Disney World. It was the most I'd ever spent on a meal. I spent $166 on a meal. But I'll get to that in a little bit because I want to do this in chronological order. So the first day, we eat the pizza, we go to bed that night, and then, and when we go to bed, the walls and the floors that the resort we're staying in are literally like made of fucking styrofoam. Because you can hear everything. Now, I'm not saying Mac Daddy Dunn here is cheap. No, my family slept very good, and we had a nice resort room. But the walls were thin as hell. Literally, it sounded like the people upstairs were having a fucking river dance competition upstairs. Like somebody was up there teaching somebody how to tap dance at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, pretty much all of us barely slept, and we ended up going to sleep, and the next day we went to Epcot. Epcot was the first one, and that's my favorite park because they have the World Showcase, and they have some pretty cool rides in there too. You have to ride a bus from the resort to get to any of the parks, Disney World is like its own town. It's like its own city, right? You ride buses from place to place to get to different parks, get back to your resort, shit like that. So we go to Epcot the first day, and we're there like first thing. We get in line, and there's this family next to us, and well, I say family, it's just a dad and his two boys. Both of these boys were probably 8 or 9 years old. They might have even been twins. And they were beating the shit out of each other in line. Like, they both had black eyes and like bruised up faces and shit, and they were fighting like world star, your girlfriend slept with your brother, beating the hell out of each other, standing right there in line. Now, I don't want to get involved because it ain't none of my business, but if one of them was to, like, if they started, fighting and one of them like bumped into my kid, that's when I cause a scene, because my daughter's just being so good, sitting in her stroller, just happy to be there, and I got a fucking mosh pit going on next to me with these children. So they're beating the shit out of each other, and their dad just kind of, he's like, he's not even paying attention. He's just staring off into space and shit. And he did it like twice while we were standing in line, where he reached down and just grabbed one of the boys' arms and whispered something in his ear. And they would stop for a minute, and then they would start fighting again. And we're standing in line to get into Disney World. I'm sitting there thinking, like, how do those kids act when they have to do something they don't want to do? So we're going up to the line, and they have to check all your bags and stuff. And there's this security guard at the end of the table. And, just one by one, people come on the left and then people come on the right. And she just checks your bag, make sure you don't have any weapons or contraband or anything like that. This family is right across from us, and I've been watching them this entire time. These boys just beating each other senseless. One of them has a bloody nose, right? And everybody around us is looking at them like, what the fuck are they doing? And they get to the front of the line, and the dad had asked one of the brothers to hold a bag. So he was holding it while he's fighting his brother. And then his dad, like when it's their turn for their bags to be checked, his dad's like, hey, will you put the bag up on the table? And the kid rolls his eyes in the back of his head and then yanks the bag off of his neck, swings it above his head, and slams it on the table. Hard. Probably breaking whatever was in the bag. I'm going to assume it was like a nice camera. And all his dad says was, well, that was rude. And everybody around is like, oh, shit. And then he looks at the security guard lady who's looking at this kid like, I could pepper spray you right now for what you just did. And his dad just looks at the security guard lady and is like, don't judge. And the funniest shit ever came out of this security guard lady's mouth. She's like, I don't get paid to judge. I get paid to check bags. I was like, oh, fuck. We thought about that all day long. Literally all day long. We talked about, I just can't believe how bad those kids was. And I think the only reason I had that reaction to it was because my mom would have yanked my arm out of socket if I had even thought about doing that. My mom would have pulled my pants down and beat the shit out of me right there. If I had even rolled one eye in disrespect, my mom would have smacked the soul out of me. We would have drove all the way down there to Disney World, and if I'd act like that, she'd have been like, you know what? And we would have gotten in the car and went home. Just to prove a point. Whether or not we paid for tickets or not. We'd have lost that money just so my mom could prove a point. So that's why I never acted like that, you know? But anyway, went to Epcot. Epcot was awesome. Love Epcot because of the World Showcase, and, you know, my daughter got to see Anna and Elsa, so already by the first day, she's having a great time, you know? We ate at my favorite restaurant in the world. And maybe this says something about me being not very cultured, but I have traveled around just a little bit, and my favorite restaurant in the world is in Disney World. It's a restaurant called Chef de France, and the first time I ever ate there, me and my wife were on our honeymoon, and we went to Disney World for our honeymoon. And I'd never been to all the parks. So when we went to Epcot, and I went to Chef de France, it blew my mind. Right? We got like a 3-course meal. And to be honest with you, the last 2 courses, the main course and the dessert, were just okay. Because the bar is set so high from the appetizer. The appetizer they have is lobster bisque. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you know of a place that you think's lobster bisque can top this one, tell me where it is and where I can find it. Because hardly anywhere has lobster bisque, and if they do, it's way overpriced. But I'll still get it about 99% of the time because I think it's so good. But the lobster bisque that they have at this place, the first time I ever tasted it, I told the waiter that that was the best thing I'd ever eaten. That was literally topped every piece of food that I put in my mouth hole. You know? And he was like, thank you, sir. You know? Like he made it himself. I compare it to that scene in Ratatouille when that guy, I fucking love Ratatouille. That's my favorite Pixar movie. When the guy, like the food inspector dude, is sitting there and he's like, you're not going to be able to cook me anything that I think is that good. And that rat's like, bet. You know? And he makes him some fucking ratatouille, and he eats it, and he has an outer body experience, and it shows him when he's a kid. That's what it was like when I ate that. That's how good it was. So yeah, we ate there. Fantastic food. And the next day we went to Animal Kingdom. Now, Animal Kingdom, to be honest, I would have to say that Animal Kingdom is probably my second favorite park. Because there's just so much to see and do. And now, one of the biggest things that they have over there now, they just opened it up. They have the Pandora, like from the Avatar, the Blue People alien movie that came out like 10 years ago. They opened up like a whole section of the park that's just called Pandora, and it is awesome. Like, it literally looks like the place from the movie, right? They got all these floating mountains and shit, and there's this big ass plant. There's this big, it's not real, obviously, excuse me, but there's this big plant that if you rub it, it will like skeet out water out of the end. It was pretty cool because when you rub it, it like glows on this little like fleshy spot. I don't know, it was kind of weird, but it's kind of neat at the same time. But yeah, we went to Avatar World, and the way Disney is set up is they do it with fast passes, so you can schedule times to get on rides to like cut down on line waiting. And we scheduled one for this river journey. It's like the Navi River Journey, I think it was called. And when we went and did that, I'm going to be honest with you, it was kind of whack. Like, it was cool because I'd never been on it, but it was literally just like a bunch of bioluminescent plants, like blacklight plants and shit, and then a really good animatronic at the end. But the rest of the ride was just screens. Like, literal screens, you know? And I was just like, what the fuck? I could watch the movie at home. I don't want to see this shit, you know? But it is what it is. They had a really good animatronic at the end. But the one I really want to tell you about is the other ride in Pandora. Okay? Me and my wife didn't have a fast pass for this one, and my daughter was too little to ride it. So we had to wait like the full time, because I kept checking it throughout the day, and it'd be like 180 minutes, 210 minutes. Then I would be like, we're just going to have to catch it when it's at its lowest, and we're just going to have to go hang out and ride it. I think we went over there, it was a 110-minute wait, so just under 2 hours. I was like, fuck it, I got to ride it. I got to know what it's about. Stand in line forever. But it's really cool because the line has all this different stuff. Like, it looks like you're going from like outside in the jungle to inside of this lab to get to the ride itself. So we're in line for like 2 hours, so I had plenty of time to see everything there is to see. And they take you into this room, and literally, like, it's like, all right, we're going to match you up with your own avatar. And you're like, word. Okay? And it like scans your entire body. It's you in a room with like 16 other people. And it like has a camera in there, and it scans your entire body. And it literally makes one of those alien blue people pop up, and it has your facial features. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. And it's like, all right, so now that we've matched you to an avatar, we're going to allow you to ride on one of these big dragon things. And then big flying, I think they call them Ekrons or something like that. Or Banshee, whatever. We're gonna allow you to ride on one. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we go into this like futuristic looking room, and it has like these motorcycle looking things on it, right? And they're like, all right, so put all your stuff in its bin on the back wall, and once all that shit is put up, then get on the bike and push yourself all the way to the front of it, with your stomach touching the little band that's in front of you. And you're like, okay, so you're really up on this thing. Well, once you're on it, you have 3D glasses on, and you're sitting on it like a motorcycle. Let's say scoot all the way to the front. Then once you're on it, this thing comes up behind you and like pushes against your back to hold you on this motorcycle. So I turn to my wife and I'm like, Zaina, this shit is about to push us out in the open air because they don't want us getting out of this thing. So she's all nervous and shit. And it was cool because the little screen on the motorcycle is like showing your face, and then it like turns and it's like your profile, and it shows your brain being linked with like an avatar brain. So once it's about to start, the lights above you start flashing, and there's like this vibrating sensation on your stomach, and you're like, oh shit, because it feels like something's happening to you. And in front of you, the wall that was there slides up real quick, and so you can't really tell, but you see all these like stars and shit, and then you get sucked into this vortex, and then you're sitting on the back of one of these dragons up in a tree, and you're just like, oh shit. You're sitting in front of a big screen, but it feels fucking real, because this thing starts flying, and like the wind is blowing in your face. When it speeds up, the wind blows harder. When you go by waves and shit like that, water splashes on your face. Not like a lot, but enough for you to feel it. It just kind of mists on there. And there's different smells from stuff that you go by, and you're just like, what are these people at Disney up to, man? Because I for real felt like I was flying on one of these animals. And it like tilts around and shit like that. And the craziest part about it, so the thing that you're sitting on, it has this like little airbag thing on both sides, and it feels like the fucking dragon is breathing between your legs. Yeah. Like you can feel it like... It ain't breathing like me right now, because I sound like I have fucking tuberculosis, but you know what I mean. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of Animal Kingdom. I mean, there's animals to see, and my daughter liked it a little bit more, because my daughter was scared shitless the entire time we were there, because she had never seen anything like that before. We made the mistake of the first day when we were in Epcot, we went to Spaceship Earth, and that was the first ride we got on, and me and my daughter sat on it together, and she's just looking around, she's like, wow, when we first get on, and I'm thinking, oh, she might actually really like this. And then sure enough, as soon as we start that incline and she like sees like all these stars and stuff, she loses her mind. I mean, just jumped down into the floor of this car, screaming like she was about to die. She's like, Daddy, I don't want to go into space. And she's screaming. I'm like, baby, it's fine. So I pick her up and I hold her. And the whole time we're on this ride, she's screaming, Daddy, don't let me go. Like she was going to float off into space. And she acted like that on pretty much everything. Some stuff she had a good time, but I mean, it was just wild, like she was only 3. She was exhausted the entire time, but she had a great time. All in all, I know she had fun, especially just for like going to see the princess and stuff. I know she had a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, I'll talk about it more in another episode. I don't want to just fill this one up, and to be honest, I'm kind of in a hurry, and I'm about at my 30-minute mark, so I don't want to stretch this Disney story out any longer than it has to be. So I'll talk about it more in the next episode. Yeah. Real quick, before I get off, has anybody seen this fucking Kodak Black interview on The Breakfast, or The Breakfast Club? with Charlemagne the God. Is that not the funniest shit ever? First of all, Kodak Black is a rapper, and he comes to do an interview on live radio. The first time he went, he wore a fucking ski mask, right? He wore a ski mask, and he said a bunch of embarrassing shit, right? Well, this time he was back, and I guess he was a little bit more prepared for the interview. And he goes on there, and he's got a camo jacket on with a green ski mask. And it was hilarious because all the other people from the show all have on ski masks. And it was the funniest shit I've ever seen. I didn't watch the whole interview, but there's this like one part that stands out that everybody is talking about and sharing like as a meme. It's this part right here. It's so fucking funny.
I hope so.
Oh my God.
I hope so.
I hope so. I guess they were asking him about like some girl he's talking to, and they're like, "Oh, is she the one?" And he's like, "I hope so." And people are sharing this meme talking about, it's like, "Girl, hey, did you pull out?" And then he's just like,
I hope so.
oh my God. Hey, will the app TikTok not be putting ads on every fucking YouTube video in like 2 weeks?
I hope so.
I hate that TikTok shit. Hey, will ads, not ads, but like companies with shitty, stupid t-shirt designs stop sending me fucking t-shirts that are like, my son is a January guy, which means he could kick your ass and drink beer all day?
I hope so.
Will they stop sending me shit? Will they stop asking me to buy these dumbass t-shirts?
I hope so.
You know? Will one of you figure out where I can get the best lobster bisque in the world and tell me where to get it?
I hope so.
You know what I mean? That shit is hilarious. I'm just going to start carrying around that meme in my pocket when people ask me something, and I'm just going to say, I hope so. You know? It's the funniest shit in the world. Real talk, man. Hey, it's been a good episode. It feels good to be back. I appreciate everybody that's been listening and showing support. You know, it really means a lot, especially if you come up to me in person, if you know me personally, and you know, tell me how much you enjoy the podcast. Hey, I enjoy you, man. I'm glad that you enjoy it. And I'm going to keep doing this until this tuberculosis I got kills me. So, you know, hey, everybody, I really appreciate the support, and be on the lookout for another episode next week. Today's episode of the Mac Daddy Seminar is brought to you by Rowdy Beard Club. Listen, if you're trying to be a Mac Daddy this holiday season, you got to be fresh. And if you want to keep that no-shave November beard all season long, look no further. Rowdy Beard Club is a locally owned company that provides all natural balm and beard oils for conditioning and keeping your mane looking majestic this holiday season at an affordable price. Use the promo code ROWDY30 at checkout to save an extra 30% right now. Head over to rowdybeards.com to check out their products now.